News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. This is the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I want to make a little announcement here. In 30 minutes at 9:30, I'm going to be talking to somebody who is part of a big thing happening tomorrow. Are you interested in adopting somebody? No, adopting a child, I should say, obviously. You can adopt me, too. But it would just involve you sending me money. Cash, please. Cash only, please. If you're interested in adopting a child, there is an amazing event coming up tomorrow at Prestonwood Church in Plano that I will tell you about. And the Robertson family is going to be involved in it. The governor is going to be involved in it, okay? So this is huge for my dear friends. I know how it is I have several people who adopted, including somebody who is a friend and mentor, and I know their kids, but I didn't even know they were adopted. And I found out, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's beautiful. Point is, big adoption thing going on tomorrow at Prestonwood with just massive amounts of information for how you can, I know it's a difficult path. Let them help you through their advocacy and everything. Okay, that's tomorrow at Prestonwood. Look at their church website for details. But also, we'll be talking to one of their folks at Prestonwood in 30 minutes about that. Okay. Now, real fast before we get into Rashee Rice, I got some bad schnizzle about him, y'all. On the energy price. This is from the Journal today, Wall Street Journal. Biden's green energy price shock. And I'll just throw out this question for you as well at 800-288-WBAP. Do you want solar and wind? Or would you prefer natural gas, coal, and nuclear? To me, it's unequivocal. I want natural gas, coal, and solar. I'm sorry, natural gas, coal, and nuclear. I don't want solar. I don't want wind. And we have to counteract these subsidies. I voted for it. I'm sure you did, for the ability for Texas to take some of our money and the excess we had, budget excess. We had about $18 billion, I think, to use it to entice energy companies to build natural gas plants. And we passed that. I signed on to that, man, on my voting when I voted. But nothing yet. I don't know how solid that's going to be. We've got to freaking do this, and we should have been doing this 10, 15 years ago. And I blame Governors Bush, Perry, and Abbott. Governor Abbott won an award from the wind industry 2 weeks before the grid collapse. Did you know that? And if you remember, I said on the air for weeks after that I would respect the governor so much if he literally came out and said, I'm giving this award back to the wind industry. I don't want it. And we should never have relied on the wind industry to begin with. That's why our grid almost collapsed. And he didn't. Shame on him for that. The average change under not Barack Hussein Obama, but actually the third term of Barack Hussein Obama, which is Joe Biden, the average increase in energy. Take a guess, producer Garrett. Just take a guess. What's the percentage of increase since Joe Biden took office in energy prices? Just take a wild guess. Energy prices meaning your electric bill. Take a wild guess. How much is 15%? I wish. 29.4% increase in energy, because the Journal says what we all know. He's going after natural gas to cancel it, to shut it down, and he's spending billions and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of our money to try to, and which is put back on us because everybody's electric bill happens. So what that means is all the energy prices to get your groceries to the store, to heat your food at the supermarket or at the at the place where you buy your food from, at fast food, to cool the ice cream in the transportation and or the ice cream in the store, everything, frozen dinners, everything. All that energy has gone up 29.4%. The Journal says under normally in the years, and listen to this, in 7 years before Biden took over, in the 7 years before, the average increase in energy prices. Take a guess, producer Garrett. One more thing. You're my little guinea pig. And by the way, our number, is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Do you want natural gas and coal and solar, or would you rather have more wind? I keep saying solar. I don't want solar. Wind and solar. You want more wind and solar, or do you want natural gas and those types? 800-288-WBAP. So, Producer Garrett, take a guess for 7 years what the average was before Joe Biden. What was the average increase in energy prices every year, roughly? What's the average? 3%? You're damn close, my friend. I gotta stop dropping the D word. You're darn close. 5%. 5%. So for 7 years, your average energy bill was up 5% every year. Not a big deal. That's normal. It's almost the rate of inflation. It's almost the what the cost of living increases and such. So, but under Biden, 29.5%. More than listen to this. That's more than 50% the inflation that we've seen. So this man's ruining everything. And the Journal says more expensive energy prices are coming. They've increased 13 times faster under Biden than the previous 7 years. It's because of his climate agenda, the Journal says, and it's going to get worse with the price increases. It's all about we're spending all this money not only for solar and wind and these peaker plants that only operate for a few weeks out of the year when the sun and wind can't provide enough. They sit and do nothing, but we pay billions for them and they do nothing. And the costs of hardening the grid to support the green energy. You have to understand something, too. Green energy doesn't just go through our grid. You need a new grid. I'm not saying that to say that. You have to have new high-voltage transmission lines. You have to have power transformers and battery storage, all new. You're literally reinventing most of the grid and paying for it. The truck mandate alone that Joe Biden just enacted last week or two, where it says EV trucks are mandate, that's going to cost utility companies $370 billion with B, $370 billion just to upgrade their networks. And those utility companies will pass their increases along to customers over time. Clint and Garland, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Clint.
Hey, as we phase out more fossil fuels, I want more wind, more solar. Thank you.
Why?
It just makes sense. There's only a limited supply of the other, and eventually we're going to run out. And, we can use them until we do, but it just makes sense to phase them out, especially since they make pollutants, and wind and solar really don't.
Okay, good. So you don't mind that we won't have power? Like, you don't mind, how long have you lived in Texas for?
You know what? The power grid went down.
Wait, hold on. Wait, ask your question first.
Because the power company...
Relax, my friend. My question for you is this. How long have you lived in Texas?
Every 10 years.
Okay, Clint wants to call and just take over the show. If this was the Clint show, that'd be great, and I'd be your caller, but this is the Chris Crock show. Now, if you can't answer a question, it shows how wrong you are to just try to plow over me. So let's see if you can have a conversation or if you just want to talk over me. The question is very simple. How long have you lived in Texas?
I'm going to say, you started a question, you didn't let me answer it. So.
No, you didn't answer. You said every year. No, just tell me how long you've been here.
I've lived here my entire life.
Okay, good. How old are you?
I am 50.
Okay, perfect. So am I. Here we go. Is it common to be told when it's 88 degrees in the third week of April that we have a power problem with our grid? Is that normal growing up for 50 years here?
No, and okay. I'd have to know exactly what you're talking about. I think you're being a little bit hyperbolic about that.
Oh, no. That's actually what the number is.
Okay, well,
hold on, brother. Listen, relax 1 second. We will have a two-way. I will have you say your next thing next, but hold on. Our grid will be in an emergency next week if we don't turn the power down. That was released just today. It's in the Dallas Morning News. Okay, brother? So it's not normal, and it's all because we will not have enough solar and wind, and you want more of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And here's the deal. As we build up,
why do you want that? Why do you want more of it? Because
as we build up the wind and solar, we're not going to have that problem anymore.
How so?
We just need more infrastructure when it comes to wind and solar.
Hold on, friend. When there's no sun and there's no wind, how are we going to get power?
There's called reserves, buddy.
From where? Where are the reserves from, buddy?
Those reserves are on the days when we have more wind and more.
I asked you, where are they from, not what are they for? Where are they from?
They're called batteries. We can store power. You know that, right?
Clint, the battery technology is not where it needs to be. It is cost prohibitive, and it's not there right now. So, Clint, if we do what you want us to do, we will keep.
We're on our way.
We're sure on our way, all right? We're on our way to having no power next week. Appreciate your call, though, my friend. You remind me of Joe Biden gaslighting us and telling us everything's great, the economy's great, we're doing great, we're almost there. Keep voting Democrat. We're on our way, Clint. Clint, I think... So I'm going to ask everybody this question now. If you're listening and you heard my great conversation with the great Clint, I'm asking you a question here. Or as Dwayne would say, a question. Do you feel like we're on our way with our grid? Do you feel like we're doing good with the grid and we're on our way? Do you want more solar and wind as Clint wants? And God bless him. God bless him. We're on our way. Do you feel that way? 800-288-WBAP. Sorry, I have a cough. 800-288-92... Bad allergies. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. And why don't you help finish Clint's sentence? He says we're on our way with our grid. Where are we on our way to? Take Clint's phrase. He says we're on our way. I want more solar and wind for our grid. Where are we on our way to? I think we're on our way to the pit of despair. Who wants to go with me? 800-288. That was a great call. I love that. Clint, if you were here, I'd give you a little noogie and say, come here, you rascal. Hey, buddy, let's go grab a burger. Yeah. Hey, you want to wrestle? You little rascal, come here. Oh, a little noogie. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That plus, I want to get into Rashid Rice because how fast was he going? We're going to get into that coming up next as well. And I'm going to give a little bit more. I'm going to polish the turd of renewables in Texas and countrywide as well. Coming up next, Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. 800-288-WBAP is the number, 800-288-9227. Thank you, Clint. The coffee I usually drink didn't invigorate me as much as you did, friend. Woo-wee, I'll tell you, that's fun. Your energy grid may go into an emergency next week because it can't handle 88 degrees. And our last caller in the last segment said he wants more of this. He was not joking. He was serious. He's like, oh, bring it on. I want more solar. I'm not trying to be mean about him either. It's like, it just blows me away. All right, 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP. Let's go first to John in Arlington. You're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, John.
Yes. So here's my answer to the last caller.
Yes.
Excuse me, about solar and wind. It's true that if they're not using it all, if the energy grid is not using all the solar or wind, it's going to batteries as backup. But if we're also concerned about the environment, so we're going to solar and wind, well, what happens when those battery farms go bad?
They go on the ground.
They're hazmat.
Right.
Yeah, they're hazmat.
Correct.
So,
and they cannot be replaced. Yeah, and all the materials are made with slaves in the Congo. I had on a Harvard professor who wrote a book called Cobalt Red. Little 8-year-olds for $1 a day are using their bare hands to dig cobalt, which causes cancer and many other abnormalities and including up to death side effects. Their young men also go. The kids don't go to school because mom says I can't feed my family unless my 9-year-old goes and works for the Chinese as a slave, and literally that's what they are. The video, 8-second video he smuggled out before he wrote that book showed it was like Moses' time, and right now there's thousands over just right on the ground, standing there on their crouched down, digging it with their hands and maybe a spoon. And on the other side of the hill there's another 1,000. On the other side of the hill there's another 1,000. And Chinese have bought the mineral rights to it, and they're using it in the Congo and other governments governments, buying them, owning them, and enslaving children, African slaves. And that's who's getting all these rare earth materials. The rest come from China, where they dig through 2,000 pounds of rock with using gasoline, diesel-powered heavy machinery to dig. Every 2,000 pounds they dig, they get about a handful of minerals. So that's what this man is cheering on. And the batteries are not there at all. They don't have the capacity to hold what we need to actually operate the grid properly. We're not there. We're not going to be there. And our grid's not there. We have to have new energy lines and everything. So he can rush it on, but we're already telling ourselves, and we're being told by ERCOT, next week, 88 degrees, we have to lower our power. Are you going to lower your power, John?
Probably doubt it.
I'm not.
Shut up a few lights. But
I'm not doing anything. I'm going to do what we normally do. I always try to conserve power at my house, but I don't make myself uncomfortable. John, I appreciate your call. Let's go to Paul in Fort Worth. Paul, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
Yeah. Hey, most people, back in the 80s, I used to be an electrician, used to do substation work, even though I'm a truck driver right now. And people don't have any idea how much energy the grid wastes. And in order to have a battery bank big enough to store enough electricity to run everything for several days at a time, you're talking incredibly huge. I mean, way beyond comprehension.
Right. Right now they have substations. Yeah, right now they have substations with smaller battery plants that can do some good stuff, but it ain't nothing compared to what we need.
Yeah, maybe for a few hours, but nothing like.
And it's it's for like a small part, like a little area, like I don't know, maybe I don't remember the exact amount I read up on it, but it was like you're talking a substation or something like that. You're supplying it for maybe a couple neighborhoods or maybe 50 neighborhoods, but you ain't doing much.
Right, and even for a generating plant, when you burn natural gas, only about 35% of that energy actually gets to your plug by the time you burn that fuel and run it down the transmission lines through the transformers and the time it gets to your wall socket. And that's another big problem, big caveat to these electric vehicles. The time that energy gets into that vehicle and gets down to the tires, you're probably only getting 25%. And you can easily beat that with a gasoline engine under computer control.
It fills up in 10 minutes, and it goes for 200 to 300 miles. It's that simple.
Right.
Do you want more wind and solar, or do you want more natural gas and nuclear coal?
More natural gas. We're going to have to do natural gas, and if they want to get away from burning fossil fuels, they're going to have to go nuclear. That's the only way to do it.
That plus natural gas is the key. I appreciate your call, Paul. Thank you very much. Here's from the Wall Street Journal. Baseload plants cannot turn a profit, operating only when needed to back up renewables, so they're closing. This was the main culprit for Texas' week-long power outage in February 2021, and the Eastern U.S.'s rolling blackouts during Christmas 2022. The media will discover this problem eventually, though not this year, if it might call into question Biden's climate agenda. Perhaps they'll notice when more blackouts arrive. Well, here we are with ERCOT today telling us next week at 88 degrees, you got to lower your power usage or we will have an emergency. So this is the future, and I say under green crap, and I say no. I say HE double hockey sticks, no. Now, next, are you a family or somebody who's trying to adopt? Well, then you have to hear about this event coming up in Plano tomorrow that you can be a part of, and you're going to learn a lot. That's next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Now, we have a guest from Prestonwood, which is an absolute fantastic church in Plano. And if you haven't heard of it, you've been living under a rock. Michael Perron, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Michael, Ministry of Life Recovery at Prestonwood, is going to come on right now with us and tell us about an awesome event going on tomorrow for adoption. Michael, am I pronouncing your name right? Is it Perron?
We go by Perrin, but I've been called a lot worse, so I'm not.
Yes, I was going to call you worse to see if you were paying attention, but I won't. Mr. Perrin, it's Mr. Perrin.
There you go.
All right, brother, man. So tell me what's going on tomorrow, because, I mean, you've got Sadie Robinson, Corey Robertson from the Duck Dynasty family. You've got Governor Abbott coming tomorrow here, too. What's going on tomorrow, and how could this help people listening right now that are struggling and trying to adopt a child? It looks like there could be some really good stuff going on tomorrow that they could be a part of.
It's going to be incredible. You know, as you know, a couple of years ago, the federal government reversed the ruling of Roe versus Wade and pushed it back to the states. And while we still have a few loopholes that states are going through, the people of Texas have said we do not want abortion available here, that we believe that life begins at conception. Well, that's a wonderful message, but we have tens of thousands of babies that are now being born that a lot of times aren't being brought into a wonderful situation. And we have amazing workers, first responders, police, child protective services. They're hardworking people, but they're overworked. And we believe then it falls back onto the church. And that is why tomorrow at Prestonwood, all day long, from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way until 6:30 at night, we have a conference called the Chosen Conference. Because we believe that every life has been chosen. Every life has a right to live.
Yes. So what can folks expect? How can they find? I see one of my friends, Shane, and his wife, Cassie Pruitt, tomorrow. I'm good friends with Shane. I love Shane. So he's your keynote session at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and he's going to be fantastic. He always delivers. Tell me this. What can folks expect when they come tomorrow? And, for example, is it going to help people be empowered or figure out how to help with the system to try to get that child, because so many people struggle and it's so expensive?
That's exactly what we're going to do. We have 3 different tracks. One for people who are involved in ministries. We're going to train and equip them. How do you start a ministry, maybe at your church or your house of faith? Another track that we have as far as the breakout sessions is engage. People that are out there right now, maybe not everybody has been called to foster or adopt, but every one of us can do something. And so that engage track just answers some real simple questions. You know, how do I help people who have adopted and fostered? And then finally, the last track is the equip track. And that is for families who are strongly considering or are currently adopting or fostering children in their home. So we're going to have classes on how do you deal with trauma, for instance. What's the basic building block? How do you even get started in the whole process and the whole system to foster or adopt? So those are the 3 different tracks that we have. And like you said, we have Shane Pruitt. The governor will be there. And ultimately, we recognize that there's a crisis taking place. And what the state is trying to do, Chris, it's just not working. And so we believe that houses of faith, churches, should step up and take their rightful place. And that's why we're doing this conference.
So if somebody's been struggling, I've been touched by adoption through people I've known over the years since I can remember 26, 28 years ago, I met a guy who was an intern of mine that was adopted, and it was, I had no idea. I'm like, that's beautiful, bro. I was touched by it. But then the other thing is, I have friends who've tried to adopt, and it's a struggle. It's difficult. It's expensive. Many of them have gone. I had a friend who adopted 2 children. He and his wife did, from Guatemala, but the cost he was telling me about, this was in 2006, was phenomenally high. So will there be some information about that, about how to help with that? And is this Texas focused, or how's it? Tell me all about that.
It is. There will be, to answer that first question, yes, there will be breakouts. How do you fund an adoption? To your point, it can be extremely expensive, but there are organizations and foundations that are established in the state of Texas that help people foster and adopt children. A lot of people don't even know that, but tomorrow we're going to give those answers to the people who step in and say, you know what, how do I even pay for this? There are resources available. And then the other side of that question is we'll encourage people, again, just to get involved, just to become aware of what is going on. If you talk to 5 people that you know, one of those 5 people has been touched by either the foster care system or the adoption process. And it's an incredible story, just like you're saying. It's an incredible story that touches the lives of every one of us every single day.
Michael, what have you seen firsthand in your church at Prestonwood in Plano, a fantastic church with great pastor Dr. Jack Graham? What have you seen at your church that has been very touching with adoption stories or foster care stories? What kind of stuff have you seen that was really moving to you and was beautiful?
Well, there's so many. This is truly the heart of our pastor, Dr. Jack Graham, in order to equip these families, obviously. We can speak of our story. We've adopted, and we encountered a young girl who was not in the best of situations. And we went down and spent some time with her, praying with her, and just kind of hanging out. And at the end of that time with her, she looked at my wife and I and said, "Will you guys adopt my baby?" And, of course, the Bible says pure and undefiled religion is to help orphans and widows in their time of need. And so the answer to that question, obviously, was yes. Now, granted, I was 48. My wife was just a little bit better than me in age. Mm-hmm. And we thought, oh, my gosh, we're so old and everything. But I'll tell you what,
yes.
You're never too old. You're never too old to get involved. You're never too old to help transform not only the life of this little girl that we have, Michaela, but you're never too old to transform the generations that are going to come after her as a result of your involvement in adoption and foster care.
How many, this is wonderful, of your adoption story with your beautiful daughter. How long has it been? And how has it gone for you and your wife? How long has it been?
It's been 8 years. So we received her the moment that she was born. She came into our family and she was received. We have two biological children that are, right now they're 23 and 21 years old. Michaela's 8, and they were able to see a picture.
Wow.
Of love, of care, of concern. And my son even said, "Dad, thanks for showing me how to raise a kid." Right. Because a lot of children don't have that, but she's doing amazing. We just got back from a soccer game, as a matter of fact. And
Did you win?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
You got to play to win, right?
That's exactly right.
But she's involved in school. She's involved in athletics and all of the other things. And every time people look at her, they just see the joy that she has on her face. And so we are a little tired. I will say that. Mm-hmm. But it is so well worth it because, again, that's a need. We stepped in and we said, you know what, we don't know what we can do, but we know that we can do something.
It's just
and that's
so beautiful.
What this conference is all about.
It's beautiful. So tomorrow, I want to let everybody know there's a huge ordeal going on tomorrow at Prestonwood Baptist in Plano, and where Dr. Jack Graham preaches. And you're going to have parents that I am friends with that have adopted several children, some of them with profound disabilities. I know Shane and Cassie has adopted some children with profound disabilities. Titus is his son's name, and I know there was some difficulty in that with his health that we'll share for Shane and I talking maybe in person or on the air. But and we're going to have Sadie Robertson and Corey Robertson from the Duck Dynasty family, Dr. Jack Graham, Governor Greg Abbott. So go if you want to just knock it out of the park for me now, Mike. Go if you want to what? If you're looking for what? Go tomorrow.
If you're looking for resources, information, and encouragement, show up at this conference and you will receive all of those things in spades. You can go to prestonwood.org/chosen or just show up at Prestonwood tomorrow anytime during the day and you can register when you walk in the doors.
prestonwood.org/chosen.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much for your time tonight, Mike. Mike Perrin, you are one of the pastors there. You are a pastor, a Ministry of Life Recovery. Thank you for serving and for caring for people that are at their lowest lows, their highest highs, or their most difficult time. It's quite a thing to be able to serve people in Ministry of Life Recovery. That is precious. That is critical, and I support everything you're doing in your ministry, and also at tomorrow's event and at Prestonwood. I go to First Baptist Swiss Dallas, are one of my sponsors, and we love you very much. We just don't steal any of our pastors. We stole one of yours a while ago, so don't you steal one of ours.
No, sir. No, sir. Hey,
thanks.
Chris,
yes, sir.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
No, you guys are the best. Thank you so much, brother. Take care. Okay, PrestonWood.org/chosen. I'll tweet it out in a second because it's precious, it's important, and I've known people that are in the middle of it and the struggle and the heartache and the difficulty. Go tomorrow and get filled with and empowered, get strengthened with new information and new resources for adoption and foster, and go to get breathe new energy for the adoption process. What a beautiful thing. I'm so grateful I get to tell you about this. This is a part of my job that I absolutely love. Next, the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice. How many miles per hour was he driving? And was his bestie. They had 10.4 or 10.8 grams of marijuana in both cars. Come on, baby. How fast were they going for? They slammed into us and sent people to the hospital. Yes, we'll get into that next on the Chris Clark Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay, I would love to hear from you tonight if you were one of the folks that, or if you disagree with me on this, because what happened was Rashee Rice crashes, right? And all of a sudden, there's a warrant out. He needs to turn himself in, and we saw the video. We saw Rashee Rice and somebody else under his name had leased a Lamborghini sports car and had also leased a Corvette. And Rashee Rice was presumably actually, now that we know, he was driving the Lamborghini, and then one of his buddies, who's an SMU football player, who's 21 years old or 20-year-old, he was driving the Corvette. And they were doing, and by the way, the speed limit they were doing, ready? At 6:30 in the afternoon, evening, when you and I imagine your beautiful wife and you, or your husband and you, you're almost as good looking as me, husband, and you having dinner and then coming back from that to your suburb there in Plano or something, or heading back to your house in Lake Highlands and whatnot. And then everything's fine. You're laughing. You're just doing your thing. The radio's on or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you're catastrophically shaken. And it's because these two idiots are driving those cars at 119 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone at 6:30 in the evening. It was still light out, obviously. So can you imagine that? Do you expect somebody to slam into your car going 50, I think it's 59 miles over the speed limit, and slamming into you from behind? Because everybody in front of you, behind you, and the rearview mirror in front of you is going normal. Y'all going the speed of traffic, right? And all of a sudden, you didn't notice a car flying in, going literally like 60 miles an hour faster than you guys are. Literally almost double. And then they're doing this drag race, they're doing this street driving, like they're on the NASCAR at Texas Motor Speedway. And they come around these cars on you and I have experienced this, and we get freaking angry than all heck, don't we? And we also are scared, and we white knuckle it, going, are there more coming? Usually for me, it's at night when I'm going home at midnight to my house, and I'm just like, I'm like, these idiots are going to kill me or somebody, because all it would take is you or I to turn the indicator on and go, but they can't stop because they're going too fast, and they fly into you, and you're dead. They're dead. You know this, and I know this. Insurance has gone up 22% under Joe Biden just this past year. And you know that even if it's not your fault, your insurance may go up. You do not want to go through this. You know it, and I know it. Doesn't matter whether it's not your fault or not. You do not want to go through it. So Rashee Rice is going 119, 4.5 seconds before the collision. The Corvette, traveled by the SMU player, cornerback Theodore Teddy Knox, was going About 116 miles per hour, 7.5 seconds before the collision. He reportedly slowed down to 91 a second and a half before, probably because he was trying to stop because he was going way too fast, and he crashed into the cars. They sent 6 cars. They trashed 6 cars. They sent some people to the hospital. There was a 4-year-old who was shaking and crying in one of the cars after the crash, and Rashee Rice and Teddy Knox were both driving cars with weed in them. And there was a diamond necklace and a $16,000 check in one of the cars, and they just left. They just walked away. I wonder if they walked away because they were stoned and they didn't want to go to jail for driving while intoxicated, which it sure seems like they were, weren't they? We don't know, but it sure seems like it. When you do that and you walk away and you have weed in your car, you're freaking blasted out of your mind as far as I'm concerned. And if you think that's wrong, then kiss my rump. You don't do that. You got that crap in the car, you're driving like that, you're guilty. If you hit me, I ain't going to give you the benefit out. I'll give you the benefit of my boot. So the speed limit was 70, and the police wrote in the affidavit that it was reckless driving and put multiple people at risk of loss or life of serious injury or loss of life or serious injury. The NFL player and the other Knox, the SMU player, faced aggravated assault, collision involving serious bodily injury, and 6 counts of collision involving injury. I totaled up the max jail time they could get, and I think it's around between 40 and 50 years, and they're not going to get that. I know that. I'm not stupid. I'm just telling you. These are crimes, and I told you that. And people were going, it was not everybody, but I'd say about 3/4 to half agreed with me, at least, but about a quarter, I swear to you, about a quarter of the people. Were you here that night, Producer Garrett? There was a good amount of guys that were calling in. They were like, it's not a big deal. Just get the plates. Remember that? Were you there? Were you here that night? Could you believe those idiots? Now, look, I don't want to say idiots. I apologize. No, seriously, I do, because you have a different opinion, but it just took me back. You're not an idiot, but I think you're nuts. How's that? Fair enough? Okay. Now, if you still think this was not a big deal, if you still think this is not a crime, even though they've been charged criminally, I would love to hear from you. And by the way, maybe you agree with me. I do want to, again, apologize because you're not an idiot. I just disagree with you strongly. But I want to encourage you to call and have a discussion with you on this, honestly. So is this a crime to you? And how bad of an incident do you really think it is? And do you think Rashee Rice should actually face jail time for this, like real jail time for at least a year or 2 or 3? You know what I mean? I do. And do you agree that what he did was a crime? Not just because he's being charged with one, because it was. And that's what I said that night before any charges were filed, because it's a crime. Reckless driving like that is a crime to me, and it sure is now. I'm going to give you details about the kids who were hurt, the mom who was sent to the hospital. There's a lot of bad stuff in here that it's not the end of the world. People didn't lose limbs, but it's bad. And I'm going to read that to you coming up next. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, and a lot more on the charges and why the charges are what they are. And then we're going to get into a great thing to talk about is laughing at Biden's claims. Undecided voters on fake news MSNBC and a panel, including a black Muslim woman and a black woman and a Muslim man. You will not believe what they said about Trump in a good way and Biden in a bad way on this panel. It's incredible. That's next.